And it makes sense that there are these two sides to our being. I think you were saying earlier about, if we chose to go down this path, but I guess I think to exist as a living form is to have pulled apart from the rest of the world to some extent. Like relatively, you're still, in absolute terms, you're still the same thing as it, but there is some relative separation. And in order to kind of, for life to explore and do its thing, it needs to be there. And we've kind of tumbled down, there are benefits to separation, and we've tumbled down that strategy for a very long time. And I guess I'd be interested, maybe do you think there is a starting point to this story of separation, or is it just a feature of what we are from the very beginning?
Yeah, in the Ascent of Humanity, I half jokingly traced the story of separation back to its origin, because there's this idea among so-called anti-civilization intellectuals that the salvation of humanity requires undoing civilization. And how far back do you go? Do you reverse industry maybe and have an agrarian culture, or do you reverse domestication and live again as hunter-gatherers? Do you stop using representational language and only communicate by song and touch and intuition? I mean, this is like a core characteristic of Homo sapiens, to use language. And I said, actually, separation originated even before then. You could take it back to fire, which created a primeval self-other division. The circle of domesticity was the circle of the fire, and it gave us a mastery over other animals and changed our physiology too. So maybe we should, undo that and stop using fire. And what about tools? Stone tools, they artificially increase the carrying capacity of the land relative to human beings and give us a kind of a dominance over. Maybe we should stop using tools too and really go back to nature. And I'm like, this can't be right, especially animals use tools. Crows use tools. Chimpanzees use tools. So, and then, you could even take separation. I said, maybe we should overthrow the tyranny of the eukaryotic cell, which was a step of separation away from the prokaryotes, who promiscuously share their DNA with each other all the time. And then we started to selfishly keep all our DNA for ourselves in the nucleus and only share it in specific circumstances called sex. That we should undo that tyranny as well. And I did this kind of to point out the absurdity of attempting to go back to the past and to idealize that past, because it's actually a denial. It's a repudiation of nature's gift. It's a repudiation of of nature's, I would even say, reality's innate tendency toward greater and greater complexity, toward greater and greater life, toward greater and greater beauty. The eukaryotic cell was a step of separation, but it also allowed greater complexity and new forms of beauty. And the same thing is true of our human version of separation. Our ability to manipulate with our hands, to manipulate the world, our ability with our minds to see ourselves as separate from the world, that allows forms of expression and new realms of complexity to emerge. So to repudiate that gift on a subtle level is the same kind of human exceptionalism that is, you could argue, is at the root of our ecologically destructive ways.